this month's edition of the FIFA World Cup magazine, we take a ride on Moscow's metro system. We talk to the first father and son duo to represent Russia, Dmitry and Denis Cheryshev. And we tell the tale of Torpedo Moscow's Eduard Streltsov. Over the last 12 months, the Russian national team has featured a number of debutants. One of these new faces is Constantine Rausch. Unlike his contemporaries, the left-back's football has been developed and nurtured overseas.
When I was growing up in Russia, I always played with my brother, but it wasn't until we moved to Germany that I started to play for a club. When it came to joining an academy, almost every team in the Bundesliga called me. In the end, it was actually very easy for me and my family to decide on Hanover, because it was only 55 kilometers from our home and very convenient to get to.
Rausch spent 9 years at Hanover, during which he won 2 Walter Fitz silver medals for promising players at under 17 and 19 levels, and represented his adopted homeland over 50 times at different age groups. In 2007, he was part of the German national team that finished 3rd at the under-17 FIFA World Cup, a tournament where he played alongside a key member of Germany's 2014 World Cup winning team.
His talent was obvious even back then. We had a strong team with some good players, but Tony stood out of the crowd. I remember one moment from our second match. We had a free kick around 18 or 19 meters out, and Tony said he would take it and he would score in the corner. If you're 16 to 18 years old and you say you're going to make this pass or score that goal, and then you do it, I think it shows you are a unique talent.
Despite his success in Germany, the now 27-year-old always harbored ambitions of representing the country of his birth. A dream he realized in 2017.
It was always on my mind. Ever since I established myself in the Hanover first team, I dreamt of playing for the Russian national team. The first time the coach phoned me, I didn't realize what was happening. He spoke to me in German and joked a little. Then he said, "Yes, this is Stanislav Cheryshev, and I'd like to invite you to play for the Russian national team. What do you think?" At first I couldn't speak. I was in shock. But then of course I said yes. I would happily join up with the team, as it was an honor for me.
To date, the left-back has made 4 appearances for Sabornaya. His goal now is to establish himself in the national team as Russia gets ready to host the FIFA World Cup in June.
Чемпионата мира по футболу FIFA 2018.
I think every player would be very happy to be part of the team, especially for the opening game. The first match in the tournament is always an important one. There's not much time until the start of the World Cup, so I need to give it 100% to make sure I'm involved. If we can achieve a good result in the opening game, it will help a lot with the team's progression in the competition. If I can be a part of it, it will be a great honor.
Constantine Rausch, 2018 FIFA World Cup.
Covering an area of 2,500 square kilometres and with a population of 12 million, Moscow is one of Europe's biggest cities and the beating heart of Russia. To keep the city moving, it relies upon a vast transport network, the most important of which lies deep underground.
The Moscow Metro is the lifeblood of the city. It transports 2.4 billion passengers a year. In addition, it is one of the most reliable means of transport. Last year, 99.98% of our services ran to schedule. We're the most reliable metro in Europe.
First opened in 1935 with just one line and 13 stops, these days the metro consists of over 349 kilometers of track and 207 stations, many of which are renowned for their beauty.
After all the engineering and construction objectives had been met, it was decided to bring in architects who did incredible work. They transformed the space in such a way that a passenger doesn't feel that they're underground at any of our stations. It's really beautiful, and in most cases the architecture complements the architecture above ground. But there are also many stations which have become independent architectural entities. The
metro itself is a historical site. My colleagues and I recently looked up the rankings for the Moscow Metro among tourist sites. On every list, we are the second or the third place in Moscow, often after the Kremlin or Tretyakov Gallery. Every day, we are witnessing an increase in tourist traffic. Everyone who visits Moscow uses the metro.
Sport also plays a part in the Moscow Metro. A number of stations feature statues and artwork depicting a variety of sporting disciplines, while the network itself has its own football team made up of Metro employees.
I work as a mechanic for the Moscow Metro. I love my job. It makes me very happy. I also play as a striker for the Moscow Metro football team. I love my team because we often win. Not long ago, we had an international Metro tournament, and the Moscow Metro team won the event.
With two of the city's stadiums set to host matches during the FIFA World Cup, football is currently high on the agenda for the Moscow Metro.
We are doing a great deal so that on match days, when there are peak passenger loads, we can minimize this by providing an extra number of trains on all the metro lines. There will also be more than 100 volunteers located on station platforms and in ticket offices to help passengers find their way around.
During the World Cup, it will be 25 years since I started working for the Moscow Metro. I love my job very much. I've been connected with it my whole life. We're ready for the World Cup, and we're looking forward to welcoming all the visiting fans here.
Bye-bye.
With an average of 9 million people a day using the metro, a number that is set to increase during the 2018 tournament, preparations are well underway as kickoff fast approaches.
The Confederations Cup was in fact a test run for us. During that tournament, the Moscow Metro transported 75% of the fans. We are doing some things, especially for the World Cup, in order to entertain our international visitors, and perhaps they might see the flags of their own national teams on the metro. But for now, it's a secret. Everything will be revealed when the fans arrive in June.
I think my father had more pace than me, and he scored more goals.
We're completely different players. But myself, as a father, I can safely say with confidence that Dennis is a more complete football player than I was.
Father and son duo Dmitry and Denis Cheryshev are two of Nizhny Novgorod's most recognizable footballers. And where the one has gone, the other has followed. Nicknamed the Bullet from Gorky, Dmitry's career spanned 16 years and saw him play for a total of 5 clubs, including Dynamo Moscow, with whom he won the 1995 Russian Cup.
When I signed for Dynamo, I knew that to play for such a famous club came with certain expectations. It wasn't just any club. It was the one that carries the whole history of Soviet and Russian football. It was an opportunity you couldn't say no to. Putting on the shirt meant you had to fight to defend the club's honor and prove you deserved to be in the team.
When my father played for Dynamo, I used to go to the stadium and dream about doing what he did. I think that every child wants to copy their parents. Thankfully for me, I was able to follow in his footsteps and play football.
In 1996, Dmitry moved to Spain, where he spent the remainder of his career before moving into coaching. It was during this period that Denis began his own football career, joining the academies at his father's clubs, Sporting Gijón and Burgos. These days, the 27-year-old plays for Villarreal, having signed for the club in 2016.
I like playing for Villarreal. It's a good club with a great group of players, both on and off the pitch. My goal now is to establish myself here.
On the international scene, Dmitry and Denis hold the distinction of being the first father and son to play for Russia.
I made my debut for the national team against the USA. Exactly 20 years later, Denis made his debut against the same opposition. The only difference is mine took place in America, in Miami, while Denis's game was played in Russia.
I think for my father, it's a great honor to see his son play for the national team. For me, though, it's about the future. Having been part of the team before, I know I can play better and I can help the team achieve better results.
For the past 2 years, both Dmitry and Denis have been host city ambassadors, helping to promote Nizhny Novgorod ahead of the 2018 FIFA World Cup, a tournament the younger Cheryshev is aiming to be a part of.
I think it will be a huge honor for any player to wear the national team shirt, especially at the World Cup here in Russia. Of course, I want to be part of the squad for the tournament, but first, I need to play well for my club and show the coach I deserve a call-up.
Football has always been and will always be the sport of the people. I think a tournament of this scale should take place in our country. We've been waiting for it. And aside from the newly built stadiums, the hope is that the sport will receive more promotion, that it will grab the attention of non-football fans, and that young parents, fathers and mothers decide to take their children to football lessons.
Photography is a wonderful way of learning about reality. In fact, photography is a wonderful way of leading an interesting life. I would never have been to the places I've been to if I hadn't been a photographer.
Sergei Novikov is a photographer whose work explores lower league football's place within the infrastructure of local communities in Russia.
One of my first big projects was called FC Volga United. I traveled along the Volga River, photographing the teams and the grounds of the clubs named after the river. I traveled from its estuary to its source, and everywhere I went was unique. As a result, I self-published a book. The logical extension to the FC Volga United photography became the Grassroots project that I've been working on since 2012. It's an examination of our reality, our ordinariness, our provinces, of what makes Russia, of what isn't seen and what needs to be revealed. A stadium is part of the landscape, and that is what I'm mostly interested in. It's also about communities. They are local teams. In essence, they are group portraits of ordinary Russian people. Geography is very important to this project. It's one of the largest explorations of post-Soviet space. Alongside football, we can see what surrounds a football pitch. Grand natural monuments or archetypal buildings, for example. We can see the face of Russia through this project. During my travels, I have visited very different places, some distant or barely known places with teams that may only appear in amateur football for one season. Later on, the team may disappear due to lack of finance or for other reasons. But I'm glad that I managed to mark their presence in amateur football. These photos become part of the archives. It allows this team or this place to become a part of history. In 2018, I plan to self-publish a book with a limited number of copies, approximately 100. I have also planned a few exhibitions. There will be an exhibition in Moscow and a number of others in the regions. I hope everything will go according to plan and all these exhibitions will take place, and that people will be inspired by my work and will find out about grassroots football in Russia.
When he used to come home after a match, he would wake me. He would always tell me about the game and how it went. Even though I was young and didn't understand everything, I'd ask him, "Dad, did you score?" And he'd say, "That doesn't matter. The main thing is we won." Football for him was more than life. He couldn't live without the football pitch. If he wasn't running out onto the pitch, he would want to be on the sidelines. Only through football could he fully realize himself. It was his life.
When it comes to Russian football, few names can match the reverence that's afforded to Torpedo Moscow's Eduard Streltsov.
He was a born talent. There's no other way to describe him. It's as if he was always destined for greatness. I can't name a player today who can compare to the talent, power, and professionalism of Eduard Streltsov.
Streltsov was the flag bearer who rose above all those around him.
Torpedo is Streltsov, and Streltsov is Torpedo.
Born and raised in Moscow, the forward joined Torpedo in 1953, aged 16, and made his international debut 2 years later. The youngest ever goalscorer in the Soviet League, he was part of the Soviet national team that won gold at the 1956 Olympics and was set to play a key part in the USSR's maiden FIFA World Cup appearance. However, shortly before the 1958 finals began in Sweden, he was accused and convicted of rape.
There were many rumors that he was being punished because he didn't move to a club that the authorities wanted him to join. Honestly, though, I don't know. What I do know is that to deny Streltsov the opportunity to showcase his talent on the grandest of stages, to bring joy to fans worldwide in that tournament, was a tragedy.
When my father was on his deathbed, his last words to my mother were, "Raya, I am not guilty of anything." All the things he was accused of were entirely falsified. I think he suffered a great deal being away from the pitch and top-level football for those 7 years.
Had he gone to the World Cup, he could have become the greatest, maybe even better than Pelé was at that tournament. We know about Pelé's abilities, but if Streltsov hadn't been in prison, I think Russia and the Soviet Union would have had a superstar player.
When he was released in 1963, he wasn't allowed to play top-level football. At that time, he played for the ZIL Factory's amateur team in front of thousands of fans.
It was like a concert where fans are in ecstasy at seeing their idol. It was the same with the spectators then. They were overjoyed at being able to see Eduard run out onto the pitch.
In 1965, Soviet Premier Leonid Brezhnev lifted Streltsov's ban from professional football. In his first season back with Torpedo, he scored 12 goals in 26 appearances, as the club claimed their second Soviet top league title. Over the course of the subsequent seasons, he returned to the national team, was named the Player of the Year twice, and helped Torpedo lift the 1968 Soviet Cup.
While he was away, football progressed. And for someone to come back after so many years without proper training and perform at such a high level, return to the national team and receive the title of Honorary Master of Sport was quite the achievement. I think those years away robbed the world, and Soviet football in particular, of the chance to truly see what he could have been capable of had he been allowed to blossom unhindered.
After hanging up his boots in 1970, Streltsov embarked on a coaching career with Torpedo that saw him work with both the youth and first teams. Eduard Streltsov passed away in 1990 at the age of 53, but his legacy as one of the greatest players of the Soviet era lives on.
When you come to the stadium, you'll see the paintings on the stairs of fame. They're of people who made outstanding contributions to the club. Streltsov is the first face you'll see at the top. He's the person who welcomes fans to the stadium.
Whenever I'm driving or walking past the statue in front of the stadium, I always greet him. I say, "Hi, Dad," every time. He was a unique man both as a person and as a player. It's safe to say that fans know about Torpedo and its successes because of Eduard Streltsov.